hope you guys did enjoy that little small montage. I'm Hex. I'm going to be going over my MagCro Bomber build. I will have timestamps down below and on screen if you're looking for anything specific, but without further ado, let's get into the build. Alright, let's go over the sets. So for the first set, we run Vicious Death. Who would have thought? The next set, Dark Convergence. Who would have thought? So for the traits, I do run one Nernhone and one Charged. We're going to save the back bar for the last. So the next set I run, Balorgs. I mean, are any of these sets actually like any surprise? With this, let's see how much we can get our VD. Let's just see how high we can get our VD too. $21.3k VD, and our spell pen is at 22.6k. Like, what the hell? This Balorg thing is ridiculous, and plus it looks cool as hell. I mean, look at that. Your hands and your leg and your feet glow like red, menacing as hell. Amazing. So for the traits, obviously I have Nernhone on the main bar, Charged on the offhand. On the body, I do run 6 M-Pen, 1 Sturdy. You could just go full M-Pen if you wanted to, honestly. I don't know why I kind of just went with Sturdy and I just kind of kept it. I do like Sturdy because when you do go into for a bomb, sometimes I am perma blocking. That way I'm guaranteed to like try to get an extra spin off. So being able to block and just being able to handle that little bit more pressure just to get that split second to get your bomb off. Because honestly, split seconds can make or break your bomb. And for the enchants on the body, I would highly recommend, if you can, to do full tri-stat. If you can't afford full tri-stat, then try to just tri-stat the body and the big pieces. The head, the chest, and the legs tri-stat, and the rest max mag. But if you can't obviously afford that, if you can't afford high Kijos, full max mag on the body will just work perfectly fine. So I do run 5-1-1, 5 light, 1 heavy, 1 medium. I do run a heavy head and a medium shoulder. And then the rest is obviously light because DC and VD all drop in light. And for the jewelry, I run probably not the most commonly thing. I run 4 arcane on my jewelry. Now you might be asking, why would you run arcane over harmony? You can run harmony. If you want to run harmony, you can run harmony. If you want to use full infuse, you can run infuse. The thing I like about arcane is that I am a day 1 MagSorg console player. So like ever since I played MagSorg, if any any of you MagSorgs back in the day, especially our day 1 MagSorgs out there represent, you got beat to your head that max mag was the way to go. You learned that very quickly that max mag was the way to go. The thing about arcane too is also indirect sustain in a way. But what I mean by that is that you have extra resources to play around with. You'll have like almost like an extra 3k right here with these 3 arcane. That's almost like a 3k after all modifiers and everything. That's like almost an extra 3k right there. That's basically another free skill which can stay like make or break you. There have been times where I was barely able to get a resist flesh off and crit heal for like 13k, and that thing gave me like over 6,000 resistances, and that kept me alive just enough for my pop to come back up and get away. I do run 1 spell damage and then 2 reduced mag costs. This is mandatory. You have to run 2 reduced mag costs on the MagCro this patch. Damage is just too crazy with Oaken Soul right now. You will get pressured really hard. So being able to just reduce the cost of everything, and it doesn't really affect my bombs, to be honest. I really haven't noticed. I just noticed my damage is about the same, but my sustain is just even better, and I can do so many crazy things. And then for our back bar, we have the Maelstrom Resto. You don't have to have it perfected. I have it perfected. What exactly does the Maelstrom Resto do? 2-piece adds 2.5 crit. And then another 2-piece, obviously, because you need the weapon to activate the 2-piece. When your regeneration critically strikes, you restore 558 magic. This effect cannot occur from simultaneous critical strikes. This, honestly, is such amazing sustain. I'm just so surprised that people sleep on this, honestly. Like, it's a back barable set. Yeah, you might be saying, why don't you back bar DC and front bar VD? I don't like that. I like just having my sets on the front bar, because trying to bar swap and lag or whatever, like, and then you don't want to risk that. Not only that, you also, like, this is really great sustain, and you get that line of crit on the back bar, which is really good for our heals on the back bar. Like, it's just really good. So basically what you do is you pass immunity, and anytime it crits, you regen magic, right? And the good thing about this is if you heal an ally and you crit this on an ally, you can get this regen through mist, and that alone right there should be enough to sell the point. I do run Decisive on the back bar. I feel like Crow is the only class that can get away with Decisive on a Bomber back bar that isn't full glass cannon. because your ultimates are very expensive on the Crow, so you just want to be able to regenerate as much ultimate as possible. Because, believe it or not every bomb is successful. So being able to just regenerate that expensive ultimate, since we are a stage 3 vampire, our Colossus does cost 243 ultimates. That is quite a bit actually. So all the little help we can get, really good. I do run an Absorb Magicka enchant. Let's go over the pots and the food. On the build, I do use Bewitched Sugar Skulls. This is honestly the best tri-stat food in the entire game. It gives you the most health, the most resources possible, and it gives you a line of health recovery, which is really stupid, but whatever. Mostly they're just there for the maxes. Now you might be saying, why would you run this over Orzhovka's? The reason with this, you want that max resources just to be able to just do more damage. You want to pump as much damage, and the sustain is amazing on the Crow, to be honest. Just being able to heavy attack with restos like that, oh, that sustain alone is just amazing. And the Crow, like, sustain passives and everything together, like, it's just really good. On the pots, obviously I do have tripod slotted. Every build should always have tripod slotted, no matter what you are. But the main pots are spell pots. And believe me when I say these, I chug these like candy in PvP. This is our form of Major Intellect, which is our recovery, restores Magicka, and grants us Major Sorcery and Prophecy. I do have D-Tech slotted, and we do run Invis pots. And then you need these pots slotted too. If there was only 2 pots you had slotted on this build, it would be spell pots and this pot right here, move pots. Become immune to knockback and disabling effect for 10.4 seconds. The main reason we run these is because, oh my god, the immunity to CC on Crow, you really do need CC immunity on Crow. Like, it's a must sometimes. There's just, like, every time I go for a bomb, I swear, I always get CC right before sometimes. Like, I swear. Being able to guarantee that you won't get CC'd is well worth over the losing the 20% spell damage. Yeah, you won't hit as hard, but guess what? You won't mess up the bomb. Alright, but enough of that. Let's get into the skills now. You're mostly here just to like see what skills I run. You can just kind of see what kind of skills I run here, and you can pretty much go off that. But if you're trying to go for more of it in depth, this is your first, like, why I run these skills, like what the whole point of them, then I would continue watching here a little bit more. So this is assuming you probably don't know why people run certain skills, and I'm here to explain this. The first skill we have is Camo Hunter. So Camo Hunter, you might be thinking, you know, you pop a skill, you waste a lot of stam, and you can see around you. It puts like a revealing around you. Exposed enemies cannot return to stealth or invisibility for 4 seconds. Not mainly the reason we run it, but the main reason we run it, you also gain minor berserk for 5 seconds after dealing critical damage from an enemy's flank. So what the flank is the side or behind. So they'll basically think of a 180 behind them, and that's basically the enemy's flank. What does minor berserk do? It gives you 5% extra damage done. That is a lot of damage. And when you have that many kids clumped up, you're more than likely going to guarantee that you crit on somebody in there. That's why this skill is so useful. Not only that, you also benefit from the fighter skill passives. Slayer increases weapon and spell damage by 3%. And most importantly, Banish the Wicked. Generate 3 ultimate anytime you kill an enemy. Not only is that players, that also counts as guards, NPCs, any little creature out in the world in PvP. Like, those things count. Like wolves, that actually does count too. You know, any extra ult gen for our Balorgs is always more than welcome on the build. Next, I wrote Necrotic Potency. This is a skill that I just can't believe some Necros will swap out for Entropy. Like, they'll really take this skill out for Entropy, and I don't understand the whole fascination between, like, not only like sap the lingering life from the fresh corpse, healing for X amount of health every 1 second. So not only is this a hot, you generate 6 ultimate per corpse. You do have a 6 target cap, so you can only use this like on 6 targets at once per cast. Not only that, the skill is free. Like, it literally costs nothing. You just have to have a corpse around you. On top of that, while slotted, your damage taken is reduced by 3%. Next skill we have Stalking Blast Bones, or most commonly known as Blasties. I'm just gonna say it right now, Blasties makes or breaks bombs. I'm just gonna say it right now. But before I explain that, let's just explain what the skill does. Summon a flaming skeleton from the ground. After 2.5 seconds, the skeleton runs after the target and explodes when it gets close, dealing X amount of flame damage to all enemies nearby. Every second the skeleton spends chasing its target increases the damage of the explosion by 10%, up to a maximum of 50% more damage. Creates a corpse on death. So if this thing runs at full speed, you're doing 50% more damage. Multiply that by an extra 10% because they're a vampire. You can see how, and then if you crit that, you multiply that by an extra 50%. You can see where the damage just spikes through the roof with that, right? Next skill we have Avid Boneyard. This is what makes the MagCro bombing possible. Desecrate the ground at the target, dealing X amount of frost damage over 10 seconds. So it's basically like a ground dot. Consume a corpse with the cast to deal 50% more damage. This does not count for the synergy. This only counts for the dot, so don't worry about that. Don't think that if you consume a corpse, you're going to do more damage with the Grave Robber. It actually does not do that. Next, you or an ally standing in the graveyard can activate the Grave Robber synergy, dealing X amount of frost damage to the enemies in the area and healing for the damage done. This is the reason MagCro Bombers exist, because no other class skill in the game you can use your own synergy. The only way you can use your own synergies is from like certain sets. So I feel like Necro is like kind of the rule breaker. They have like all these weird little passes on their skills and can do all this crazy stuff. So this is the reason MagCro Bombers exist, because of this Grave Robber right here. And this is a synergy, so this is off the global cooldown. So if you pass your skill, you can cast this skill and spin right after, or at the same time, and do both double damage. See, this is why it does so much damage like that. It's so much burst. Not only that, you also heal for the damage done. So if you hit people, like if you hit 10 kids for a total of like 70k damage, guess what? You're healing for 70k damage, and that's not affected by Battle Spirit. So next skill, we have Whirling Blades. Launch yourself in a lethal spin, dealing X amount of physical damage to nearby enemies. Deals up to 100% more damage to enemies with less than 50% health. This is our main spammable and execute. Very good skill. There is another variation with the Cythe that I have been trying out, that I tried out for a little bit towards the end, that I was told about. And honestly, I was loving that one. But I just don't have enough footage and enough experience to kind of justify a build video on that one. So I will talk about it a little bit more in depth at the end. But this is more of a Whirling Blades build. And our next skill, Big Daddy Pestilent Colossus. Very expensive, meaning at a whopping 243 ultimate, unleash a Pestilent Colossus to pulverize the enemies in the area. The Colossus smashes the ground 3 times over 3 seconds, dealing X amount of disease damage and increasing with each smash. This is most commonly referred to as smash. Not only that, but when this thing does damage, applies major vulnerability to enemy hit for 12 seconds, increasing the damage taken by 10%. You can see that all this together, if you get hit by this, not only are you taking a really hard hitting ultimate, you're taking 10% more damage for major vulnerability. Grave Robber goes off, spin goes off, blasties goes off. That's just a lot of damage. One kid pops, guess what? Everyone else is popping. Very good skill. Just be careful. It is very expensive. So if you whiff your ults, well, you're gonna be waiting for a long time. That's why we have the Cythe to kind of help us out. For the back bar, we do have Summoner's Armor. This is basically our major resolve, increasing our physical and spell resist by almost 6k for 20 seconds. This morph, while active, reduces the cost of Blast Bone, Skeletal Mage, and Spirit Bender by 15%. And it also creates the course when the effect completes. This is the morph you want to be using. Not only is it great for sustain, you don't want Beckoning Armor. The other skill will give enemies free CC immunity. So when you go in for your bomb, you want everybody that's humanly possible to stack together. And if they have CC immunity, guess what? They ain't getting pulled in. My next skill, Elusive Mist. Honestly, any open world build lives and dies by mist. Dissolve into a dark mist, reducing your damage taken from players by 75%, and grants you major expedition, increasing your movement speed by 30% for as long as you maintain the channel. Entering this form removes and grants immunity to all disabling effects and mobilization effects, but you cannot be healed and your recovery stats are disabled. Once again, I'm just going to say this every video, put a big asterisk next to that. Grants immunity to all disabling and mobilization effects, because I've been uppercutted, feared, and speared out of my mist. And there also is the chance that mist, might not even work. You go into the mist and it just ends right away after, and you die. But honestly, that's just the name of the game. Honestly, some crazy things happen. Skills don't go off, whatever. But honestly, when mist works, it is one of the most overpowered skills in the entire game. Race Against Time is not really wanted on this build. You just being able to be so tanky and being able to kite around corners and doing whatever you want, that's just unmatched. And look at that, 510 magicka a second. Like that thing is really cheap. But anyways, let's go into the next skill. Radiant and Regeneration. Pretty simple. Healing you or up to 3 nearby allies for X amount of over 10 seconds. Basically a small hot that you can put on you and up to 2 allies. And not only that, it also synergizes well with our Maelstrom Mesa, which also gives us sustain. Really good hot, never go wrong with a free hot. And you can heal other people, Next skill, we have Spirit Guardian. This is the skill that makes MagCro survivability unmatched. Conjure a ghostly spirit to do your bidding and stay by your side for 16 seconds. The spirit heals you or the lowest ally around you every 2 seconds, restoring X amount of health. While active, 10% of the damage you take is transferred to the spirit instead. You get 10% free damage mitigation on this. That is unheard of. 10% free damage mitigation on top of a hot, on top of this thing giving you 200 health, magicka, and stamina recovery. Like, what? On one of our passes, Undead Confederate? Like, this skill is just the reason MagCro is able to be a MagCro and stay alive. You just take 10% flat less damage. Do not use the other morph. You want that damage mitigation. Next skill we have Resistant Flesh. Sacrifice your own power to repair damaged flesh, healing you or an ally in front of you for X amount of health, but applying minor defile to yourself for 4 seconds, reducing your healing recede and health recovery by 8%. You grant the target spell and physical resist equal to half the amount healed for 3 seconds. This thing is ridiculously strong. I've crit healed myself for this for 13k before. So half a 13k, that's more than a major resolve buff right there. I just got from one skill for critting that hard. Very strong heal. Honestly, just this is what makes MagCro so good. Amazing skills. Let's go over the last skill. Temporal Guard on our back bar from the Cythe line. Set backwards in time, resetting your health, magic, and stamina position where you were 4 seconds ago. Not really used for that, mainly just used for the free passive. While slaughter, you get minor protection, reducing your damage taken by 5%. Really good damage mitt. Hardly do I ever use the ultimate. Yeah, I've used the ultimate a little bit of times before. I'll jump off a cliff, pop this skill, and go back up the cliff while they're all down there. And there you go, I get away. But mostly what happens is I pop the skill, go back in time, and I get stuck in an animation and just die. Okay, so for our set sheets, we do run 34 points in the mag and 30 points in the health. So that gives us 31k max mag, gives us 30.5k health. On every build that I do, I always like to push that 30k threshold. Kind of makes you look a little more intimidating, not to be messed with. Our max stam is just shy of 22,000. Our mag recov, health recov, and stam recov, pretty solid, 617 mag recov. With the pot, let's pop the pot real quick. With the pot, we're at 771 mag recov. And our spell damage shoots up to 4943. And our spell pin is at 11,113. With our resist armor buff, we're sitting over 19.2k spell resist, 15.5k physical resist, and we're just shy of 2100 crit resist. I do run the lover on the build. I switch between the lover and the thief, and for the most part, I feel like the thief is probably the best. I was just trying it out again, and honestly, I've come to the conclusion the thief is the best. An extra 6% crit. We are a stage 3 vampire. Every build should be a stage 3 vampire for undeath. And for the race, I am a dark elf. Actually, one of the few builds I actually think that dark elf is probably better than Breton, honestly. And why so? Let's look over the passives. We get resist flame. Increase our flame resist by 4620, which is very good. Honestly, one thing that does counter this build are mag DKs. Their pressure is just too much. And I don't know what is the obsession with mag DKs. Just love sweating bombers down for whatever reason it is. I don't know what. Next passive, we do have dynamic. It increases max mag and max stam by 1910. That is ridiculous. You heard that right. Almost 2,000 max mag and stam. Obviously, max mag means more damage. But our max stam being able to have a bigger pull means we can get like possibly an extra spin or an extra CC break. Because any build, if you get caught without stam, well, you better hope there's a keep nearby that you can res that. And next, we have Ruination. Increases your weapon and spell damage by 258. This honestly is a lot of weapon and spell damage. So we're basically making up the effect that we're losing our spell damage from our jewelry for a lot more recov on our jewelry, which I think in return is better than Breton, because Breton, it does give that flat percentage, but the thing is, mist is so cheap that you want flat reduction over percentage reduction. Alright, now let's go over the CP. So the CPs I run focus many, Master at Arms, Oko Overload, and Ironclad. So next on the red CP, we have Celerity, Bloody Renewal, Relentlessness, and Pain's Refuge. So the main alternative that I did try out for a little bit, and I really was enjoying really much, was running the Ruinous Cythe on this build over Spin. And honestly, this thing is ridiculously amazing. Slides to the enemy's life force, dealing X amount of bleed damage, and applying the hemorrhaging status effect and setting him off balance for 7 seconds. I mean, if you just read half that sentence, you can understand why this is ridiculously strong. It's because you apply hemorrhaging status effect. And guess what hemorrhaging does? That's considered a status effect. And guess what procs off killing people with status effects? Old cult, whenever you kill an enemy under the effect of a status effect, they violently explode. You see where that synergy comes from? That's where the synergy comes from. This is why this skill is so good. This is why I can't believe I was sleeping on this. They told me about it and I was like, I'll keep doing my spin. And then I tried this once and I was like, wow, this is ridiculous. But now you may be wondering, for those people that don't understand, like, how come sometimes your bone armor or your ghost gives you a corpse and sometimes it doesn't? The simple answer to that, same thing with the archer, is that they just need to be alive for more than 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, if you recast the skill, they'll drop a corpse. Like, this thing still has 2 seconds left. I cast it again. Same thing with my armor, and it drops a corpse. But if I were to hit it early again, it doesn't drop a corpse. I'm waiting for 10 seconds for my skill to go off now. So when this thing hits when it shows 5 seconds for the Spirit Guardian and 10 and 9 for the armor, then I waited enough right there. Hit that, and it created a corpse. That's the reason why. So the combo is pop your buffs into a Blast Bones, bar swap, miss, cancel with the bar swap, into Colossus, into Boneyard, into Spin to Win while hitting your Grave Robber synergy, and watch everything pop. So all synergies have a 20-second cooldown from themselves. So if I hit a Grave Robber synergy, I cannot hit another Grave Robber synergy for another 20 seconds. Okay, so let's get into the truth of the build. Not every build is perfect. I'm just gonna say it right now. I am not gonna lie to anybody. Every build has its pros and cons. What are the pros and cons of the Crow? You have great survivability. You have amazing passives. You have just everything so power creep. You have the ability to hit your own synergy to do a crap ton of damage. You have access to major vulnerability, 10% free damage mitigation on top of a single target burst heal. Like, that's just a lot. And you have another skill like Blast Bones that can set up for huge bursts. You can see where it goes insane. And plus, you have the most unique ultimate regeneration in the entire game. Being able to absorb corpses, like, that's ridiculous. You don't even need to get the kill. Like, even if your alliance gets bombed, guess what? You can sap your allies and get the ultimate from them, which I usually do. So I don't mind if my teammates actually get bombed. I'm like, oh, cool, 36 free ultimate, thank you. And then if I want to, if there's more bodies, I'll just sap again and get even more ultimate. Like, you see what I mean? Like, this Crow thing is just amazing. The cons with the Crow Bomber is it's a bomb build, obviously. Like, you're not going to be able to 1v1 a sweat. That's usually like a 1vx build. You're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. You could survive pretty well, but you're not going to kill them. I mean, you can maybe catch them off guard, but a real sweat would probably expect like, he's not doing any damage. He's probably a bomber. Mag DKs are the bane of your existence. For whatever reason, Mag DKs just love pressuring a bomb build. For whatever reason, they'll zerg you down to the ends of the earth. But the most important thing is not every bomb will be successful. Some bombs you will whiff. Some bombs the Colossus won't even activate, even though you see the circle perfectly as clear as day pop up and it doesn't go off. Or sometimes you'll pop your Colossus but your Grave Robber won't go off. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. Another thing too is your Blasties will go to a target that just runs off somewhere else. Most hated one is getting negated. That thing is so frustrating. Like, really, you're really negating one person? It's so much fun. I always have that one last bomb syndrome. It's like, oh, okay, I'll get off after one more bomb. Oh wait, hammer's up. Oh, I gotta save for the hammer. Oh, someone's got a scroll. Oh wait, they're pushing our home keys. Let me try to bomb it. Oh wait, there's a zerg here. Let me bomb that. Ah, that bomb wasn't too good. Even if I bomb the whole 24 man into a perfect bomb, I'll be like, oh wait, they're still around, dude. I can go for another bomb. Wait, hold up, I can do another one. I always run into that strong problem, and that's what I love about the Crow so much. Like, honestly, this is one of the most fun classes I've ever had. And I highly, highly, highly recommend giving it a chance if you haven't already. Alright, hope you did enjoy the build video. Like the video if you liked it. Comment your thoughts or experiences with the build. Also, anything I might have missed out, and what build video you'd like to see next. Subscribe for more. I hope you enjoy the rest of the small montage, but most importantly, stay zerging.